And now let's welcome on the host of the Clipper Countdown post-game, halftime, and the YouTube channel, the Saltier, Adam Oslin. Adam, good afternoon.
I love how Fred always really struggles just rattling off all the different things I'm doing right now. I love it because it says I'm working hard. That's what it means. Fred can't keep up with it. The YouTube thingamajig, the Nintendo,
I'm sorry, Adam, you do so many things now. What do you expect? You're everywhere.
No, you're right. Ubiquitous. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yes.
What's good? Anything happening?
Yes. Well, it's those Jamaican roots, Adam. Jamaican roots you have in you that have you so many working so hard and so many activities and so many jobs.
Oh, that's me. Kill Whitey. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right, there you go.
Always about the man, Adam.
Chris
It's always
Farley
about
said
the
it
man.
in Black Sheep once. That's all I'm referencing there. Come on.
All right, well, let's start with this. Let's just get to what happened last night. We got a ton of stuff to get to. From the Clipper perspective, Tyronn Lue after the game said that was awful.
Yeah.
That he doesn't even know what's going on with those guys. What did you see?
That was an embarrassing performance. It was their worst game of the season. And for it to happen against the Lakers, and it's not just that game. What Coach Lue was referencing is the last 3 games he's been upset with how the team has been playing out there. And that includes the game they won in Charlotte. So when people talk about a win's a win, no, not really. Not to coaches. You can build bad habits in victories. And on the other side, you can figure something out in losses sometimes that eventually leads to victory. So how you play always matters out there. And the Clippers haven't been bringing that defensive intensity for some time. And for them to give up 45 points in the first quarter to the Lakers, the biggest quarter of the season for the Lakers, the worst quarter of the season defensively by the Clippers, for it to happen like that at Intuit Dome, that was embarrassing for Clipper Nation to see a performance like that, because there has been one team that they always get up for, no matter how they're playing, and that's the Lakers. I mean, guys, going into that game, the last 48 games against the Lakers, going back to 2012, the Clippers are 38-10 against them. Now 38-11 over the last 49 games against them. Like, they have dominated them for some time now. So you expect them to get up, play hard, to give a much better effort out there, and they just look stuck in mud. It was a lethargic performance by the Clippers, and it's beneath the way they have played for the majority of the season. They are still the number 2 defense in the league this season, and they've only had Kawhi for 12 games so far. But over the last 6 games, they're 21st defensively. The Lakers are the team that's been playing much better defensively as of late. The Lakers are the team that looks like they've turned a corner. Like, both teams seem to make a statement last night. The Clippers in the wrong way, where it's almost like, were guys concerned about being traded? That they have something else on their minds? What's the deal? Are they sending a message to the front office, we need more help? And for the Lakers, it looked like they sent the message of, hey, you can invest in this group. It's not just about getting Luka. Now get us a big. We can compete this season. That's what last night's game told me.
Yeah, and the fact it was at Intuit, Adam, that makes it sting even more for the Clippers, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, because there's Laker fans there still, obviously, not as many as it was at Crypto, but you could hear them cheering last night. And this is the Clippers' first real home. And for them to get run off the floor like that and play their worst game of the season against now their in-city rival, or however you want to put it, it was shocking to see a performance like that with the Clippers coming out that flat against the Lakers.
Yeah, it really was, because we know both of those teams get up for those games. But when you actually look at it, when you really seriously look at it, what should the Clippers now be doing at the trade deadline, Adam?
I think they could still use more help in the front court. Now, they did bring in Drew Eubanks, who I think is an upgrade over Mo Bamba, and they brought him in from Utah, and they got Patty Mills, but he's 36. I don't expect him to play much. He's an old vet that will take guys under his wing and help out in that way. But Drew Eubanks is like 28. He's a backup big. He's what some people would label a try-hard guy. He's got a motor. He's undersized a little bit at 6'10", but he plays really hard out there, and he's not taking three-pointers like Mo Bamba was. He's more of that traditional rim runner. So if they can't get an upgrade at the center position, that's going to be their guy backing up Ivica Zubac. And Zoo's been so good this season, you only need that guy for 12 to 15 minutes per night at most, and the Clippers do like to go small at times with Nico Batum, with Kawhi out there, sometimes playing center, even with Terrence Mann at times. But I still feel like if they can find somebody like Jonas Valanciunas, depending on what you have to give up, or if they could make a trade for Robert Williams, and maybe that would include somebody like Terrence Mann, who's a fan favorite, and he is one of the most reliable role players over the last 5-6 years now for this Clippers team. But they have so many guys that do what he does. You know, it's crazy to bring up his name, but he's basically out of the rotation in some ways. He can't get significant minutes out there because they brought in Chris Dunn, they brought in DJ, Derek Jones Jr. this offseason, and Terrence Mann's playing less. So even if you're trading him for a guy that has major injury concerns in Robert Williams, who I think has played 18 games so far this season for the Portland Trail Blazers, well, if Robert Williams is healthy, he's playing for you. If Terrence Mann is healthy, he still might not be playing because you got so many other guys that he has to jump over when it comes to lineups and rotations and that minutes crunch out there. So I would consider it at this point. I never thought I'd get there because I love Terrence Mann, but I think everything has to be on the table for this Clippers team. I mean, guys, I'm looking at that report a little bit earlier with Golden State and Kevin Durant apparently not wanting to go back there, even though they were pursuing him. Now I'm wondering, are they going to come after Kawhi? Because the Golden State Warriors are striking out with everyone. Like, are they eventually going to come after Kawhi? Because they did have the framework for a deal for Paul George that didn't go through. The Clippers didn't want to do it this last offseason, so they've talked before. I don't think anybody, after what we saw happen with Luka Dončić, is off limits in this league at this point.
Yeah, speaking of that, Adam, let's get into it. What did you make of the trade when you heard it, and how do you think it plays out for both teams?
I mean, I guess the Lakers have a horseshoe wrapped in 4-leaf clovers and a rabbit's foot on top shoved up their tuchus, as BTB would say, because they just seem to fail upwards sometimes. They seem to land these guys when nobody thinks you got a 25-year-old superstar who's at worst a top 3 player in the league, or you have to hold on to that guy, right? Nobody thinks those guys are easily gettable in this league, but somehow the Lakers just end up finding them. Even with the new CBA, even with the new restrictions out there, the Lakers find a way. Lakers luck. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it happened. I understand. Look, if you want to dumb it down to this, because everybody's looking for reasons, and some people are going into the conspiracy theory level with this, I don't think there's a conspiracy going on. I think it's as simple as the Dallas Mavericks grew to hate Luka Dončić. They were sick of him. They were upset with him. They didn't like the conditioning issues. Who knows what else behind the scenes? They were over him. And in their haste to get rid of him, they found a guy they really loved over the past couple of seasons in Anthony Davis. And so you hate one guy, you love the other. That's how a deal like this gets made. Now, should they have gotten an extra first-round pick? Yes. It's unbelievable. You look at what Utah got for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, what KD was able to get. I don't know what the OKC Thunder were able to get from the Clippers for Paul George. You look at all these recent big blockbuster trades and the amount of picks that get dealt, and to only give up one, and apparently Rob Pelinka was gaslighting or finessing his old friend and Nico Harrison, who I think worked at Nike and had a botched sales meeting with
Rob Pelinka had something to do with this? No.
I think in that way, the relationship between he and Nico Harrison, you got to give Rob a little bit of credit, because I don't know what he told him, but the reports are that, you know, during this coffee or dinner meeting, he basically said, well, we can't give you a second first-round pick for Luka Dončić with the conditioning issues that you're talking about and the injury history. Like, we can't do something like that. You understand that, right? And apparently he fell for it. My point would be, if you're going to trade Luka Dončić, why would you not let others know that he's available to drive up the price? But I guess they were just so in love with Anthony Davis that was the one guy they wanted more so than anybody else. But you still should find a way to get another first-round pick out of the Lakers for him, or to get Dalton Connect or something. I think, you know, Max Christie's a good get for them, but one first-round pick, it's just not enough. There's no way. And I think it set this ripple effect throughout the market because I think the Kings did worse than they would have when they traded De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio after what happened with Luka Dončić. That sets the market. There's a domino effect. So I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. He's 25. Look, if he comes in and he has cankles all of a sudden and he really is 270, it's like, first of all, he was hurt throughout their playoff run and didn't look to be in the best shape last year, and they still got to the NBA Finals. And all this stuff about how Luka doesn't play any defense. Luka, he's a terrible defender on that end. It's like, hello, they still, with him and Kyrie Irving starting, were one of the best defenses in the league after they brought in Gafford and PJ Washington at the trade deadline last season. If you can still be maybe the best after the trade deadline or one of the best defenses with Luka on the floor next to Kyrie Irving, how much is he really hurting you? Like, he's at least a big body out there. I've seen him play defense at times when he gets challenged in the playoffs like that. This is bizarre. It's baffling. And the Lakers benefit from maybe some serious incompetence going on with the Dallas Mavericks, who are still going to be good. Like, they should be a really good team if everything goes their way. And who knows if they're done. I don't think the Lakers are done either. But you're talking about the future and having a guy for the next 5 to 7 to 10 years. And it's so hard to find these guys. Like, he's made All-NBA 5 times already, and he's only 25. Guys, I think there's a real chance. I'm going to make this prediction right here. Luka Dončić is about a year removed from scoring 73 points in a game against the Atlanta Hawks. If there's anybody that has a chance to go for Kobe Bryant's 81, it's Luka. He's that type of killer. He's that type of scorer. And he loved Kobe. He had the message for Kobe and Gigi yesterday at the press conference. Like, this is somebody that is going to be out there looking to get revenge on the league, and not just the Dallas Mavericks, but anyone who doubted him. He's going to put up some crazy numbers. If he's healthy and he's right, he's the type that will go for a number like that. I think it's going to happen in a Lakers uniform where you're going to see something really special. I think Luka is one of the few guys in NBA history. I've been saying this for years now, and he's only 25. So I've been saying this since he's like 22, since he's 21. He's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. I've seen enough. He is one of the most special, most talented, skilled players I've ever seen in my life. So unless he has major injury concerns and the Dallas Mavericks sold the Lakers damaged goods, I don't see how this isn't one of the biggest swindles since, the Dallas Cowboys traded Herschel Walker? Like, that's what we're talking about here.
So, from the perspective of Rob Pelinka and what he did, honestly, he did nothing but answer the door. I mean, that's what he did. And I've said this 100 times. He opened the door and Luka Dončić was standing there. And he said, "Can I come in and stay here now?" "Sure, come on in." Okay, that's how they got him.
Oh, look, so it is a no-brainer, Fred. That's fair.
Okay, but here's the thing, Adam, and no one knows this. And we know the conditioning issues, and we know he was up for the Supermax. Yeah. I got to tell you something. For a franchise to do that to you, a guy that they could build around for years, for somebody in any business to do that around someone who could be a top earner, top performer, leader for years, you had to piss somebody off.
Yeah.
You had to do something where they went, "I don't care who you are, you're out of here. And as a matter of fact, you're out of here as fast as I can get you out of here. I don't need to talk to anybody else. I know this guy. He's got a guy I want. We're sending you there. Get out." What did he do? That's the question.
Yeah, and maybe eventually we'll get the full story, but there was real bitterness going on with Nico Harrison and Luka Dončić and maybe other people within the Dallas Mavericks, although it sounded like he didn't tell anybody else. This was him working this deal. Eventually the owners had to sign off on it, I think, but they were so far down the road, and maybe they just trust him. Look, Nico Harrison is a year removed from having the best trade deadline in the NBA. Him bringing in PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, they don't get to the NBA Finals without those guys. He did a great job there. But yeah, he stuck it to him because Luka's going to miss out on like $116 million. He just bought a house in Dallas, it sounds like. He looked like he had a 1,000-yard stare yesterday at the press conference. He still looked like he was devastated, in shock. Everybody is, including him. But if it's true that there was no rumor, or there was close to zero chance that he wasn't going to take the Supermax from them, that he was going to leave them, and that's what they were worried about, then yeah, this is really just about grown hatred for Luka Dončić from the Dallas Mavericks, and specifically one guy, Nico Harrison.
Can you hang at him? You good? You hanging?
I ain't going nowhere. I ain't like Luka getting traded.
All right. Where's Nico Harrison? When we come back, let's talk about some of the other moves in the league.
Oh, yes. Bring it back on a hump day. Rodney P, Fred Roggin. And we still got the double A, the salty one, Adam Oslin joining us. Adam, I keep going back to as great as, and yes, you gave him a lot of praise, and he certainly can score with anybody in the league and in league history, really, and Luka Dončić. But I still go back to why Dallas got rid of him.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't there's still a lot more to the story, because you just don't give up a guy to the point where you just made where they didn't get much back from him. Yes, they got AD. A lot of people say maybe that's 1-for-1, but they got Max Christie. But they didn't get draft picks. They didn't get a boatload for him. Think about what Minnesota got or Utah got for Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
And they didn't get that, even close to that for him, given that his age is 25, considered top 3 players in the league. I'm just going back to, and it's still stuck, that why did they get rid of him?
Well, I think they value Anthony Davis more than we do, being close to the situation with him for a long time. I think that's part of it. They love AD. Sometimes it's Occam razor. Yeah. Sometimes it's the simplest answer. I mean, they love AD. They've grown to hate Luka Dončić at this point. But it still feels like, okay, is there something where Luka Dončić, they feel like, is going to have some Brandon Roy shortened career, and because he can't stay in shape, even though he's only 25, this stuff compounds, and eventually he's wearing down at a faster rate than what we'd expect typically. But that's quite the leap. And I would take the chance of Luka Dončić with all that talent, even if he's overweight, even if he is not as committed to his conditioning, because when he gets on the court, he is one of the fiercest competitors in the league. This isn't the type of guy where it's just, oh, he's so talented and so skilled, and he makes it look so easy. He also is a dog. He also wants to rip your heart out. Look at what they did in that Game 7 a couple of years ago in Phoenix, where they beat him by 50, and he's staring over at Devin Booker as there was some bad blood between those two. Luka is about that life. Like, he wants to take your soul. So even though the conditioning issues could be real, they seem to be, all that other stuff outweighs it for me. Like, I am taking that risk. There's always risk assessment. There's a risk with Anthony Davis. Now, I do think it's been a little bit overblown with the street clothes stuff. I think AD has played something like 173 of the last 100.
I think that motivated him, to be honest with you, Adam. I think that talk of him being out of shape and street clothes and all that, for the last 2 years, Anthony Davis has been available for the most part.
Yeah. And
I would say that kind of motivated him. And you may see this happen for Luka, that he took you just, not that he was a sleeping dog, but you gave some raw meat to a dog already by trading him and saying, we don't want you anymore. And now he's going to become even more than what you thought he was.
Oh, yeah. And he's next to LeBron James, who, if he gets on his workout plan, who spends millions of dollars every year on staying in the best shape ever, what's that going to do? What if Luka Dončić gets shredded? Like, it's weird to think about right now. Like, there are certain guys, it's not like Nikola Jokic has these really defined arms or anything like that. It's not about that for him. He has great cardio. He can run all day. Certain guys just have physical advantages that are innate. And Luka Dončić, even with the ankle injuries and the calf injuries going on, I don't know. His game is not dependent on athleticism, guys. It's not. So those step-back threes, those daggers he puts through your heart late in games, I don't see that stuff changing because he's been dinged up the last couple of years with similar injuries to his calves.
He is going to play Saturday, by the way, for the Lakers, and the game's going to be nationally televised now. Let's go back to the Kawhi thing you mentioned.
Wait, that's confirmed now?
Well, Mark Medina sent a tweet that ESPN had a nationally televised game on Saturday that's been flexed out, and now they've put the Lakers and Pacers game in that slot. I don't think that ESPN would do that unless they had an inkling that Luka was going to play.
Yeah. I just heard J.J. Redick earlier said, well, we'll think about it the next couple of days, Monday at worst. But, yeah, I guess signs are pointing that direction, Freddie.
All right, so let's go to this. You mentioned Kawhi, and could he be someone that would be a trade target at the deadline, Adam?
Look, the Clippers seem very committed to him, and he signed that extension just last season. And this is somebody that chose them when he could have gone anywhere as a free agent. And for the Clippers, it was the first time really in franchise history where they got that guy, where somebody wanted to come to them. It confirmed they were a destination franchise. So I think he represents more than just what he does on the court. That was a watershed moment for the Los Angeles Clippers. The only way I would say he could be moved is if both parties mutually agreed that it's best for both sides, with him and with the Clippers and Kawhi. Where it's, okay, Kawhi can go somewhere where you might have a better chance to win now. Let's say Golden State pair up with Steph Curry, and the Clippers get draft capital, young players, and they're more in rebuild mode. I think it's unlikely, but I'm not going to say anything's off the table at this moment.
What about the other deals? Go ahead. Go ahead, Rodney.
No, I was just going to say on the Clipper front, because obviously it was disappointing with Paul George and Kawhi partnership, and that got broken up. How much more of a window does Ballmer or patience does Ballmer have with this team, Adam?
Well,
as constructed or whatever they're going to do. I mean, before he blows it all up or becomes frustrated, because they've been on the verge for many years now. Even going back to Lob City, they were on the verge. But
yeah,
it just hasn't materialized. And at some point in this town, when you see the Dodgers doing what the Dodgers are doing, and the Lakers even won a title in the last 4 years, whatever it was. The patience for Steve Ballmer on this team, where does it lie?
I mean, to some degree, because of the new CBA, your hands are tied. Like, they put in this CBA with all these restrictions, with how punitive it is, to dissuade teams like the Clippers and Warriors from going into the luxury tax and Ballmer paying $150 million every year to go way over the cap. Because now it's, okay, we'll take away first-round picks, or we'll freeze them, and you have to trade dollar for dollar if you're over the second apron. All of these things are so difficult. Like, if Ballmer could just spend as much money as he wanted to, if he could beat the Dodgers, I think he would. But it's just a completely different scenario with the salary cap situation in the NBA, especially over the last 2 years now in this new CBA world. So, do you stay the course? Do you double down? Because right now it's like quadrupling down on this era, because they've already done that. I think what you're trying to do is be as competitive as possible right now, with also keeping cap flexibility and having an eye on the future. And the Clippers have done a really good job with that. They're 6 games over 500. They've only had Kawhi for 12 games so far. They've constructed a tough-minded defensive team that gives you a nice floor for being competitive in every game for the most part. Last night notwithstanding. This Clippers team has overachieved. Are they good enough? Do you have enough belief in them to reinvest and make a big move during the trade deadline that limits you from making bigger moves later on, the next couple of seasons, when they could have a ton of salary cap open up? I don't think they would do that. I don't think we're looking at a big swing right now where they're like, okay, nobody else is going to take Jimmy Butler. We'll bring him in. And we'll give up Norman Powell and Terrence Mann or something like that.
No.
I think that's unlikely. But if something falls in their lap, like it did for the Lakers, they're not going to kick it out of bed. They're not going to ignore that. They're going to find a way to make something happen. So I think they're going to make smart moves on the margins, improve incrementally. They're a great defensive team. With Kawhi on the floor, the numbers have been very good on the offensive side overall. They are a competitor in the Western Conference. It's been a bad couple of games, but that's not who they've been throughout the majority of this season. So I say you try to be as competitive as possible in this Western Conference where you can still feel like, hey, if Kawhi's healthy and playing like Kawhi in a 7-game series, we got a shot against anybody, while not ruining your future, while not crippling yourself, because they only have one first-round pick they could trade anyways, guys. They only got one second-round pick they could trade. They don't have a ton of young guys that teams are, clamoring for. They're not in a great situation when it comes to draft capital and young assets. So they have to be very careful with what they do here. They've already gone all in so many different times, and unfortunately, because of injuries, things outside of their control, they haven't gotten over the top. So I don't think they want to do anything that sacrifices their future, but luckily so far, they've been very good this season. Like I said, they have overachieved. You have to say that.
All right. Clippers play Indiana tomorrow here on the station. NBA trade deadline is tomorrow as well. Saltier, thanks for hanging.
Appreciate you guys.